This is not just an audiobook, it is an invitation into the sacred unraveling. Here you'll discover the ancient power of letting go and awakening the path of release. The tighter you hold, the more you repel. The moment you trust, all you seek begins to find you. The Law of Detachment. Introduction. In the eternal dance of creation, there exists a sacred paradox that has whispered its wisdom through the ages. The tighter you grasp at what you desire, the more swiftly it slips through your fingers like water. This truth, preserved in the ancient scrolls of spiritual masters and echoed in the hearts of those who have walked the path of enlightenment, reveals itself now to you. The law of detachment stands as one of the most potent forces in the universe, yet its power lies not in doing, but in allowing. It speaks not of abandoning your dreams, but of releasing the iron grip of control that keeps them at bay. When you learn to loosen your hold on the how and when of your desires, you align yourself with the infinite intelligence that orchestrates the cosmos. Trust, in its purest form, becomes the most magnetic force in existence. It draws to you that which is meant for you in ways far more magnificent than your limited mind could conceive. This surrender, this sacred letting go, is not an act of weakness, but rather the ultimate expression of power. It is the wisdom to know that the universe holds a grander vision for your life than you could imagine. The path of detachment invites you to release resistance, to open your hands and your heart to receive. It teaches that your role is not to force the river of life to flow in your chosen direction, but to navigate its currents with grace and faith. As you embrace this truth, you begin to experience a profound shift. The less you attempt to control life, the more abundantly life flows toward you. This ancient knowledge transforms anxiety into peace, control into trust, and struggle into flow. It guides you from a place of fearful attachment to one of truthful surrender. The universe responds not to your demands, but to your trust, not to your grip, but to your openness. Part 1. The Sacred Unraveling, Awakening the Path of Release. Chapter 1. The Grip of Wanting. In a small village among ancient hills, Walter sat beneath a weathered oak tree, his weathered hands wrapped tightly around a mysterious wooden box. Day after day he would strain and struggle, his knuckles white with effort as he attempted to pry open its intricate lock. The more desperately he clutched and pulled, the more the box seemed to resist his efforts, its secrets remaining stubbornly sealed within. You see, Walter's story mirrors a truth that echoes through the chambers of your own heart. When you grasp too tightly at what you desire, you create an energy of desperation that pushes away the very thing you seek. This desperate attachment becomes a declaration to the universe, a powerful statement that speaks of absence rather than abundance. The first transformation begins with this recognition. Your urgent need for something is an energetic announcement of its absence in your life. When you proclaim, "I need," with desperation, you amplify the very state of wanting. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, can only reflect back to you this energy of lack. In another village there lived a woman named Lydia, who tended a garden passed down through generations. At its center stood an old tree, its branches bare and lifeless. For months, she poured her energy into forcing life back into its twisted limbs, her determination becoming a heavy burden. One morning, after a night of deep reflection, she finally allowed herself to release her grip on the past. She cut down the withered tree, creating space in her garden. As spring arrived, she discovered new shoots emerging from the earth, stronger and more vibrant than before. The very act of letting go had created space for fresh life to flourish. This tale speaks directly to the place within you where you might be holding on too tightly. Where in your life are you mistaking force for power? In which areas are you attempting to control what must naturally unfold? To help you embody this wisdom, I share with you an ancient breathing practice passed down through countless generations. Find a quiet space and settle into a comfortable position. As you inhale, notice where you feel tension in your body, the physical manifestation of your spiritual attachment. With each exhale, consciously release this tension, allowing your body to soften. As you breathe out, silently repeat the sacred words, "I no longer need, I already have." Let each breath create space for abundance to flow naturally into your life, just as nature abhors a vacuum and fills empty spaces with new life. Chapter 2. The Puppet Strings of Control. In the fertile valleys where wisdom grows as abundantly as wheat, there lived a farmer named Raymond, who had yet to learn nature's most essential teaching. Each morning, he would venture into his fields, with determination etched upon his face, grasping the tender stems of his crops and pulling them upward, believing he could force them to grow faster through sheer will. His calloused hands, instruments of misguided devotion, sought to bend time itself to his demands. You now stand at the threshold of understanding what Raymond could not see, that control is but an illusion, a veil that obscures the perfect orchestration of universal timing. When you attempt to force life's natural rhythm, you create resistance against the very flow that seeks to bring your desires to fruition. Your need to control outcomes stems from a deeper wound, a fundamental distrust in the universe, is infinite intelligence and perfect timing. Just as a flower cannot be forced to bloom before its season, your desires unfold according to divine timing. When you release the grip of control, you allow the universe to work through you rather than against you. This surrender is not passive resignation, but active alignment with the cosmic force that orchestrates all of creation. In a distant city, Edith discovered this truth through an unexpected path. Her prized clock, an antique that had governed her days with mechanical precision, finally broke beyond repair. Initially distraught, she cast it aside, and in doing so stumbled upon a profound revelation. Life's true rhythm could never be captured by numbered hours. It could only be felt in the quiet spaces between moments, in the natural ebb and flow of existence. Where in your life are you, like Raymond, pulling at stems that need only sunlight and time? Where are you, like Edith once was, attempting to force life into artificial measurements rather than trusting its natural cadence? Sacred practice. Take a piece of paper and write down everything you are currently trying to control. Be thorough. List every outcome, every relationship, every timeline you're attempting to manipulate. Feel the weight of this burden as you write. When complete, step outside under the open sky, light a candle or find a safe place for burning. As you release this paper to the flames or tear it into the wind, speak these words with conviction. I let the universe do what I cannot. Feel the lightness that comes with this release, for in this moment of surrender, you align with the infinite power that has orchestrated galaxies since the dawn of time. Chapter 3. The Art of Allowing. In the hidden chambers of creativity there lived an artist named Marjorie, whose brushstrokes once danced with divine inspiration. Yet when the well of inspiration ran dry, she would grip her brushes tighter, forcing paint onto canvas with increasing desperation. Each forced stroke only deepened her creative drought, until one day, exhausted by the struggle, she set her brushes down. You now approach a sacred truth that Marjorie discovered in her surrender. In the space of letting go, when she ceased trying to command inspiration's arrival, beauty began flowing through her once more. This mirrors the ancient wisdom that is whispered through the ages. Allowing is not passive resignation, but rather the highest form of trust in action. The universe moves with perfect precision, orchestrating circumstances beyond your current vision. When you release the need to force, to push, to make things happen through sheer will, you enter a state of divine receptivity. This is not inaction. It is conscious alignment with the flow of universal intelligence. In a quiet garden, Samuel learned this truth through nature's gentle teaching. Day after day, he reached for a beautiful bird that visited his garden, extending his hand with determination. The bird would always fly away. One morning, weary of pursuit, he simply opened his palm and remained still. In that moment of pure allowing, the bird gracefully landed in his waiting hand. You see, the universe responds not to your striving, but to your allowing. When you cease the endless doing and enter the sacred space of being, what you seek begins seeking you. The bird in Samuel's garden reveals this timeless principle. That which you desire comes not through grasping, but through becoming a vessel of reception. Your unclenched hand becomes a symbol of your receptive heart. In releasing the tight grip of control, you create space for miracles to enter. This is the paradox of allowing. In your surrender lies your greatest power. Now embrace this ancient practice of allowing. Find a quiet space where you can sit undisturbed, a sanctuary where the world's ceaseless demands fall away. Close your eyes and enter the silence for 5 minutes, letting your breath become a gentle river flowing through you. With each breath, feel yourself becoming a clear channel, a vessel of pure potential, repeating these words of power. I allow what is mine to come. Let this meditation become your daily ritual of sacred receptivity, a testament to your trust in the universe's perfect timing. As you practice this gentle surrender each day, you will find that what you seek begins to seek you with increasing clarity and grace. Remember, it is in these moments of sacred stillness that the seeds of transformation take root. Chapter 4: The River That Flows Without Pushing. Along the winding river lived a boatmaker named Clark, whose vessels were known throughout the land for their beauty. Yet in his own journeys, Clark would exhaust himself fighting against the current, believing that more effort meant faster progress. His arms ached from constant rowing, his spirit weary from battling the water's natural flow. You, like Clark, may have been taught that achievement comes only through ceaseless striving. Yet within the waters of life flows a deeper wisdom. One day, when Clark's arms could row no more, he surrendered to the river's guidance. To his amazement, his boat moved with greater speed and grace than ever before, carried by forces far more powerful than his own strength. This ancient truth reveals itself. The universe holds currents of support beneath the surface of your experience. When you cease exhausting yourself through constant effort, you tap into a flow that has always been waiting to carry you. This is not passive drifting, but conscious alignment with divine momentum. In the midst of a tempest, Eleanor discovered this same principle. Lost at sea, she fought against towering waves, each desperate stroke taking her further from safety. Only when she released her struggle, allowing the storm to guide her, did she find herself carried to a hidden shore, one far more beautiful than her intended destination. You see, the universe knows paths you cannot see, currents you cannot comprehend. Your task is not to force your way through life, but to align with the flow that leads to your highest good. When Eleanor stopped fighting the waves, she discovered that what seemed like surrender became her salvation. The water holds this timeless teaching. Progress comes not through perpetual pushing, but through trusting the current that carries you. Just as Eleanor found her shore through allowing, you too will discover that releasing resistance opens the way to unexpected treasures. Water visualization practice. Close your eyes and envision yourself in a gently flowing river, its crystalline waters reflecting the ancient wisdom of surrender. Feel the cool touch of water supporting your body completely, cradling you like a mother's embrace. See your destination downstream glowing with golden light, beckoning you toward your highest purpose. Rather than swim against the current or force your way forward, simply allow the sacred flow to carry you onward. With each deep, conscious breath, release any tension or need to control your journey. Let your muscles soften and your mind grow still. As you float effortlessly toward your radiant vision, silently affirm these words of power. I let go and flow. Feel how this simple truth resonates through every cell of your being, attuning you to the perfect rhythm of the universe. Chapter 5. You are not the doer. In a village among ancient hills lived Franklin, a blacksmith renowned for his mighty arms and iron will. Each morning he would pound metal into submission, believing his strength alone shaped the steel. His muscles strained and sweat poured as he worked harder and harder, convinced that force was the key to mastery. You too may believe that your power lies in pushing, in making things happen through sheer determination. Yet the universe holds a gentler truth. One stormy evening, as Franklin watched lightning dance across the sky, understanding struck his heart. The same fire that transformed his metal came first as a gift from above. His strength did not create the spark, it merely channeled it. This revelation unveils the sacred art of co-creation. You are not the source of manifestation, but a divine instrument through which universal power flows. When you release the belief that you must make everything happen, you open yourself to become a vessel of grace. Your role is not to force creation, but to align with the creative force that moves through all things. In a garden touched by morning light, Nora discovered this same principle. Day after day, she watched a rosebud, resisting the urge to pry open its petals. Her patience was rewarded as the flower unfurled in its own time, revealing a beauty no human hand could orchestrate. The bloom emerged not through her effort, but through its own divine timing. This truth liberates you from the weight of controlling outcomes. Just as Nora learned to trust the wisdom within the rose, you are invited to trust the intelligence that orchestrates the universe. Your desires do not manifest through force, but through allowing yourself to become a clear channel for divine expression. Let these words sink deeply into your being. You do not need to strain to make life happen. The same power that turns seeds into forests, that spins planets in their orbits, flows through you. Your task is simply to open yourself to this force, to step aside and let it move through you. Practice. Stand quietly, hands raised to the sky like branches reaching toward sunlight, and speak these words of surrender. Divine Source, move through me. I do not push, I allow. Feel yourself becoming a vessel of grace, a channel through which the universe expresses its infinite power. Let your breath deepen and your body soften as you release the need to control. Like a leaf floating on a sacred river, trust in the current that carries you. In this moment of pure receptivity, you open yourself to the limitless abundance that seeks to flow through your being. Chapter 6. The Voice Beneath the Noise. In a bustling city library, Doris moved through towering shelves, her footsteps echoing against marble floors. For 20 years, she had surrounded herself with the voices of countless authors, yet somewhere along the way, she had lost touch with her own. Each day brought more questions from patrons, more books to catalog, more noise to navigate, until silence beckoned her away. You too may recognize this endless doing, this constant reaching for answers outside yourself. Like Doris, you may have forgotten that wisdom whispers from within. At the silent retreat, as hours stretched into days, Doris felt the layers of external chatter falling away. In that sacred space of nothing, something awakened, a voice both familiar and forgotten, like a melody remembered from childhood. This voice spoke not in words, but in knowing, in the quiet certainty that rises when the mind grows still. When you release the grip of constant activity, when you step away from the clamor of seeking, truth emerges with crystalline clarity. Detachment from noise becomes attachment to wisdom. Your inner compass aligns with universal intelligence. Harold discovered this truth while lost in a dense forest. The more frantically he searched for direction, the more disoriented he became. His map crumpled in trembling hands, his breath short with panic. Only when exhaustion forced him to rest against an ancient oak did he notice it, a compass that had been in his pocket all along. In stillness, he found what activity had hidden. Like Harold, you carry within you an unfailing guidance system. Yet this inner wisdom speaks in whispers, not shouts. It requires not effort, but attention, not seeking, but settling. When you detach from the need to figure everything out, solutions arise naturally, like bubbles floating to the surface of still water. Look now at the noise you cling to, the endless scroll of information, the constant consultation of others, the ceaseless mental chatter. What whispers wait beneath these layers? What knowing have you buried under? Practice. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed, a sanctuary where the world's clamor cannot reach you. Set a timer for 3 minutes, though time itself will seem to dissolve in this sacred pause. Close your eyes and allow your breath to slow, feeling each inhale and exhale like gentle waves upon a shore. Notice the thoughts that arise, but don't follow them. They are merely visitors, not permanent residents of your consciousness. Let them pass like clouds across a vast sky, neither grasping nor resisting their presence. When scattered thoughts appear, simply observe them with gentle awareness, knowing that beneath their movement lies the stillness you seek. When the time ends, silently repeat these words of power. I hear what I am ready to know. Let this truth settle into your being. This practice, passed down through ages by those who walk the path of wisdom before you, opens the channel to your inner knowing, that divine compass that has always pointed true, waiting only for your attention to reveal its guidance. Chapter 7. Attachments Disguised as Love. In a small cottage by the sea, Ruby sat surrounded by yellowed envelopes, each one held as if it contained her husband's last breath. Every morning she would trace his handwriting with trembling fingers, desperately trying to keep alive what had already transformed. You may recognize this grip of grief, this belief that holding tighter preserves what appears lost. Yet within this attachment lies a profound teaching about the nature of love itself. When love seems to depart, you might find yourself clutching at its shadows. Old photographs, worn clothing, faded letters. Like Ruby, you may mistake the vessel for the essence, the form for the formless. But true love in its infinite wisdom cannot be contained in physical remnants. It flows like water, changing shape while remaining pure in essence. One morning, as salt air drifted through her window, Ruby noticed how the sunlight transformed her husband's letters into something new, not messages from the past, but bridges to understanding. The love she thought she needed to preserve had never left. It had simply shifted form, like water becoming vapor, ever present though unseen. This truth echoes in the tale of Gerald, who nursed an injured bird back to health. He named it Hope and built it a golden cage, believing that keeping it close would heal his own wounded heart. Yet Hope grew weaker, its wings drooping against gilt bars. Only when Gerald opened the cage door, tears streaming down his face, did both bird and man begin to heal. As Hope soared into the morning sky, Gerald felt something expand within his chest, not loss, but liberation. Love in its purest form exists beyond attachment. When you release your grip on how love should look, feel, or remain, you create space for it to reveal itself in ways you never imagined. Like Gerald's bird, love thrives in freedom. It is not the cage that preserves it, but the courage to open the door. What you hold on to from fear of loss actually constricts love's natural flow. True love remains not because you clutch it, but because it is your very essence, as constant as the tide, as endless as the sky. Practice. Take an object that holds emotional significance, a letter, a photograph, a token from the past. Hold it in your hands and feel its weight, both physical and emotional. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Now, either physically release this object or simply place it down while speaking these words. What I release returns in truth. Feel how liberation creates space for love's authentic presence. Chapter 8, The Holy Magnetism of Emptiness. In the heart of an ancient town stood Vernon's timepiece shop, its shelves lined with clocks that marked more than just hours. They measured the passing of dreams. As seasons turned, Vernon noticed his once thriving workshop had become cluttered with unfinished projects and abandoned ideas, each gathering dust like forgotten promises. You too may recognize this feeling when the weight of what you've accumulated begins to dim your spirit's light. The universe whispers a timeless truth. Emptiness is not an absence, but a presence of infinite potential. One morning, Vernon felt an inexplicable urge to clear his workshop entirely. He removed every clock, every tool, every remnant of what was. As the last piece left his workbench, he stood in the bare room, feeling not loss but an electric anticipation. In this sacred emptiness, new visions began to flow, designs he had never imagined, innovations that transcended his previous work. Within months, his renovated shop became a beacon of creativity, attracting admirers and prosperity beyond measure. This principle of divine emptiness flows through all creation. Just as the empty cup receives, the cleared space invites. When you release what no longer serves, you create a magnetic field for what awaits to enter. Consider Alice, a writer who had spent years clutching manuscripts that no longer reflected her truth. Her shelves groaned with stories she thought she should tell until the day she gathered them all and set them free. In the space that remained, a new voice emerged, her authentic calling, which had waited patiently for room to breathe. What appears as loss in the physical realm often signals spiritual preparation. Each item you release creates space for the universe to fill with aligned possibilities. This is not mere reorganization. It is energetic alchemy, transforming stagnant energy into flowing abundance. The power of emptiness extends beyond physical space into the realm of consciousness. When you clear your mind of outdated beliefs, your heart of the past hurts, your life of what no longer resonates, you become a pure vessel for divine inspiration. Practice. Choose a space in your home that feels stagnant or heavy with old energy. Remove everything from this area with mindful attention, holding each item in your hands and asking from your heart if it still carries energy that serves your highest good and truest path. As you clear, speak these sacred words with each release. Empty is holy, allowing their vibration to purify the space. Feel the lightness and infinite potential that fills the void you create. Notice how the air itself seems to shimmer with possibility. Let this physical clearing become more than mere housekeeping. It is a sacred act of creating space for new blessings to enter your life. As you work, imagine divine light filling each empty space, transforming it into fertile ground where miracles can take root. This ritual of conscious clearing opens channels through which the universe can pour its abundance. Chapter 9. Surrender. In the heart of a bustling marketplace, Clara sat at her workbench, fingers trembling as she tried to salvage a ruined tapestry. For days she had pulled at threads, forced new patterns, and attempted to cover mistakes. Yet with each desperate effort, the fabric only grew more tangled, its original beauty disappearing beneath her anxious hands. You too may recognize this pattern in your own life, the way forcing solutions often leads deeper into confusion. The universe operates through a paradox that few have understood. True power lies not in pushing harder, but in sacred surrender. When Clara finally laid down her needle, tears falling onto the twisted threads, something extraordinary occurred. As her hands released their grip, the fabric seemed to exhale. Beneath the chaos of her attempts, she glimpsed the original pattern, more beautiful than she remembered. In letting go, she discovered that the masterpiece had never truly been lost. This wisdom echoes through the ages. There exists a profound difference between giving up and giving over. When you surrender your struggles to divine intelligence, you are not abandoning your dreams. You are entrusting them to a power greater than your limited perspective can comprehend. Milton's tale mirrors this truth. For months, he scaled the steepest paths of the mountain, determined to reach the summit through sheer force of will. His hands were bloodied, his spirit exhausted, until one evening he simply stopped. As he sat in quiet acceptance, his eyes adjusted to the dimming light, and there at his feet lay a gentle path he had overlooked countless times, a route that led him effortlessly to his destination. These stories speak to the heart of spiritual surrender. When you release your grip on how things must unfold, you open yourself to solutions beyond your imagination. This is not passive resignation, but active trust in divine orchestration. The night holds special power for this practice of sacred surrender. As darkness blankets the world, let these words rise from your heart. I give this over to the divine, who sees beyond my sight. In this surrender you will find not weakness, but a strength beyond measure. This nighttime ritual of release allows the universe to work while you rest, transforming struggle into grace through the alchemy of trust. Chapter 10. The Unclenched Hand. In the bustling marketplace of an ancient city, Eugene arranged his wares each morning with meticulous care. His hands would grip each item tightly, as if holding on could somehow guarantee a sale. Each potential customer who approached found themselves met with an endless stream of persuasion, prices, and promises. Yet the more intensely he pursued their coin, the faster they seemed to vanish into the crowd. Through your own journey of manifestation, you may recognize this familiar dance, the way desperation repels the very things you seek to attract. The universe responds not to force, but to faith. One day, exhausted from his efforts, Eugene simply sat back and loosened his grip. His hands fell open in his lap, and in that moment, something shifted in the air around his stall. Customers began to linger, drawn by an invisible force that had nothing to do with his words or actions. They asked questions, shared stories, and yes, made purchases, all because they felt the space to choose freely. The unclenched hand becomes your living symbol of this truth. When your fingers release their grip on outcomes, you create sacred space for abundance to flow. This gesture carries ancient power. It is the physical embodiment of spiritual trust. Watch as Sylvia discovers this same wisdom. For years, she clutched her old journal close, believing its chapters held the key to her future. One windy afternoon, standing at the edge of a cliff, she opened her hands. The journal's chapters caught the breeze, dancing away like autumn leaves. As her fingers uncurled, something within her unclenched as well. A lifetime of trying to control her story. Your hands hold wisdom your mind often forgets. When you feel yourself gripping too tightly to desires, outcomes, or timing, let your fingers be your teacher. The open palm becomes your body's reminder that receiving requires space. Sacred practice. The unclenched hand. Find a quiet moment and sit with your palms facing upward. Notice any tension you've been carrying. Slowly, deliberately begin to open your hands finger by finger. As your hands unfold, speak these words of power. I am open. I am ready. I let it come. Feel the subtle shift in energy as your body aligns with trust. Notice how the simple act of opening your hands creates space within your heart, inviting the universe's infinite possibilities to flow through you. This gesture becomes your touchstone throughout each day, a physical reminder that true abundance flows not through grasping, but through grace. Like water finding its natural course, or a flower turning toward the sun, you're naturally orienting toward that which nourishes when you release the need to control. Part 2, The Alchemy of Trust, Letting Go and Letting Flow. Chapter 11, Detached to Receive. In a small town among rolling hills, Howard carried more than letters in his mailbag. He carried the weight of unspoken words. Each morning, as he delivered messages that connected hearts across distances, a single envelope remained in his pocket. His own letter, penned with trembling hands, held words of love he dared not release into the world. You too may recognize this hesitation, the way your deepest desires often remain unspoken, held captive by fear of the unknown. Yet within the ancient wisdom lies a paradox. Only in releasing your grip on outcomes do you claim your heart's truth. One autumn morning, Howard stood before the blue mailbox that had witnessed his daily struggle. Something shifted within him, a quiet knowing that holding on was heavier than letting go. With closed eyes and an open heart, he slipped the letter through the slot. In that moment, he understood that the act of release was itself a completion. 3 days later, a response arrived that transformed his world. Not because of what it said, but because his surrender had created the space for its arrival. The universe had been waiting for his signal of trust. Watch as Dorothy discovers this same truth in her garden. Each day, she would dig up the soil where she had planted a precious seed, her anxiety about its growth preventing the very miracle she sought. Only when she stopped checking, when she trusted the darkness of the earth and the wisdom of nature's timing, did the first green shoot emerge. These tales mirror the sacred law that governs all manifestation. Detachment is not an act of giving up, but of completion. When you release your grip on how and when your desires must arrive, you signal to the universe that you trust its perfect orchestration. Your desires are seeds already planted in the soil of existence. Your role is not to force their growth, but to trust the unseen process of becoming. Each time you choose trust over control, you water these seeds with faith. Sacred practice, the letter of completion. Take a clean sheet of paper and write a letter to yourself, dated 1 year from today. Detail your desire as if it has already manifested in its perfect form. Feel the gratitude, joy, and peace of its completion as you write. Seal this letter in an envelope. As you do, speak these words of power. It is done. Place the letter in a sacred space, a drawer, a box, or beneath your pillow. Let it rest there undisturbed, knowing that just as a seed requires darkness to sprout, your desire grows strongest in the soil of trust. Chapter 12. The Mirror of Resistance. In the grand concert hall where Gloria practiced, tension lived in her fingers like an unwelcome guest. Each time she approached the piano, her hands would stiffen with the fear of striking a wrong note. The more she tried to control every movement, the more her music became rigid and lifeless. The very resistance meant to prevent mistakes called them forth, like shadows drawn to fear. You may recognize this pattern in your own life, how the very act of resisting what you fear magnetizes it toward you. This is the hidden mechanism behind manifestation. What you resist persists. What you fight, you fuel. One evening, as moonlight filtered through the concert hall windows, Gloria discovered something remarkable. When she allowed her hands to soften, when she released the grip of perfection, music began to flow through her like water. She realized that resistance had been masquerading as mastery, and control had been disguising itself as discipline. This truth extends beyond the piano keys. It resonates through every aspect of existence. Notice how often your own resistance wears the mask of wisdom or protection. See how frequently your fear of what might go wrong creates tension that blocks what could go right. In a bustling office across town, Stanley encountered this same principle in a different form. His supervisor's anger filled the room like storm clouds, yet Stanley chose a different response. Instead of meeting force with force, he remained calm, a still lake reflecting a turbulent sky. Gradually, the supervisor's energy shifted to match the peace Stanley embodied. This mirrors an eternal truth. The outer world reflects your inner state. When you resist what appears before you, you strengthen its presence. When you soften into acceptance, you change the reflection itself. The universe operates through this law of reflection. What you project internally manifests externally. Resistance creates more to resist. Acceptance creates space for transformation. A sacred practice for inner reflection. Stand before a mirror in complete solitude, creating a sacred space where only truth can dwell. Let your gaze rest softly on your own reflection, neither judging nor analyzing what you see. As you look into your own eyes, these windows to your eternal soul, speak these words with gentle authority. I soften, I allow, I trust. Feel each word dissolve the layers of resistance within you, like morning mist yielding to the warmth of dawn. Let each syllable resonate through your being, clearing away the accumulated tension of resistance. This ritual connects you to the power of surrender, reminding you that transformation begins with acceptance. In this moment of pure reflection, you become both the observer and the observed, the teacher and the student, discovering that the greatest wisdom lies in the gentle art of letting go. Chapter 13. The Hunger That Pushes It Away. In a small bakery between ancient stone buildings, Irene stood before her oven, her brow furrowed with concentration. The scent of burning bread filled the air, another batch sacrificed to the altar of perfection. You see, Irene believed that if she could just get everything exactly right, success would finally arrive. Yet with each attempt to force excellence, her creations emerged darker, harder, less alive. Within this simple scene lies a universal truth. Desperate energy repels what you seek. When you approach your desires with the energy of lack, of not having, of needing desperately, you push away the very abundance you wish to attract. The universe responds not to your words or actions, but to your energetic signature. Watch how Irene's story transforms. One morning, exhausted from striving, she begins to hum while mixing her dough. Her movements become lighter, her touch gentler. For the first time in months, she bakes not from pressure but from joy. And there, in that sacred shift, her bread rises golden and perfect, not because she tried harder, but because she tried less. This principle echoes through the tale of Geraldine, who spent countless hours beside her telephone, waiting for a call that never came. Her anticipation created a field of desperate energy, pushing away the very connection she craved. It was only when she finally released her vigil, stepping out into the world with no expectation, that a letter arrived, carrying news far better than any call she had imagined. You may recognize these patterns in your own life. Notice where your desires have become heavy with need. See where your hunger has become so loud it drowns out the quiet voice of abundance. The universe responds not to what you want, but to what you are being. To shift this energy, begin with your breath. Find a quiet space and settle into stillness. As you inhale, let these words fill your body. I am full. As you exhale, release the chase with these words. I release the chase. Continue this practice until you feel the shift from hungry seeking to peaceful knowing. This ancient breathing technique carries the power to transform desperate energy into magnetic presence. Practice it whenever you feel the pull of anxious wanting. Remember, true desire is as gentle as a summer breeze, not as fierce as a winter storm. Like the sages of old who understood the subtle rhythms of creation, you too can learn to distinguish between the grasping of ego and the natural flow of divine attraction. When your heart beats in harmony with universal abundance, you need not chase or strain. Your very presence becomes a beacon that draws forth all that is meant for you. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14: How Needing Becomes Repelling. In a dimly lit workshop, Edwin held a flawless sapphire in trembling hands. Each day he wrapped it more securely, tucked it deeper into his vault, convinced that protection meant possession. You might recognize this feeling, the way fear can disguise itself as caution, how the need to hold something close often stems from the terror of loss. What you grasp too tightly slips through your fingers. This truth echoes through the ages, yet its wisdom often eludes those caught in the grip of scarcity consciousness. The universe responds not to your wants, but to your state of being. When you approach life from neediness, you broadcast a frequency of lack into the infinite field of possibilities. Agnes understood this truth, though not at first. For years, she pursued her dream position at a prestigious gallery, sending application after application, each rejection deepening her desperation. It was only when she released the chase, finding joy in her current work, expressing her creativity freely, that the universe responded. One afternoon, while lost in the pleasure of arranging a small exhibition, the gallery owner she had long pursued walked in, drawn by the energy of someone who loved their craft. You see, what you seek is seeking you, but it can only find you in a state of wholeness. Your needs, when rooted in fear, create an energetic barrier that repels the very experiences you desire. The universe mirrors back your inner state. If you believe you lack, you will experience lack. If you know you are complete, completion finds you. This moment invites you to examine, where in your life is need masking fear? What treasures are you hiding away, believing that tight control equals true possession? Sacred practice. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed and gently close your eyes. Breathe deeply, letting each inhale fill you with pure potential, and each exhale releases all tension. Now imagine yourself walking through your life completely fulfilled in every way. Feel the natural ease in your steps, the deep peace flowing through your heart. Notice how different this feels. There is nothing to chase, nothing to grasp at, nothing to prove to anyone. You simply are, and that is enough. With each conscious breath, silently affirm these words of power. I am whole, I do not need, I attract. Let this profound truth settle deep into your bones, into every cell of your being, transforming desperate energy into magnetic wholeness. Feel how this shift changes everything: your posture, your energy, your very presence in the world. This is your natural state of being, one of complete abundance and grace. Chapter 15: The Silent Power of Unseen Faith. In a small town where faith seemed to speak only through Sunday sermons, Bernard quietly tended to a patch of earth behind his church. Each morning before dawn, he would kneel in the soil, planting seeds and tending to tender shoots without announcement or acclaim. His congregation walked past the garden daily, yet none questioned its purpose or praised its progress. Bernard simply smiled, knowing that true faith requires no audience. You see, the deepest magic unfolds in silence. When you plant your dreams in the sacred soil of trust, without needing to prove or explain, you tap into an ancient power. The universe responds most powerfully to those who keep their faith private, who nurture their visions in the quiet sanctuary of their hearts. As spring turned to summer, Bernard's garden burst forth in unexpected glory. Roses climbed the church walls, lilies opened like morning prayers, and herbs filled the air with sweet testimony. The townspeople stood in awe, wondering how such beauty had bloomed unnoticed. Bernard had demonstrated a timeless truth. Faith doesn't need witnesses to work wonders. This wisdom echoes in the tale of Elaine, who lived at the edge of town. Each evening, she would place a single candle in her window, its flame steady against the darkness. When neighbors inquired about its purpose, she offered no explanation. Months passed, and one stormy night, a traveler lost in the darkness found his way home, guided by that unwavering light. Elaine's quiet ritual, born of pure faith, had manifested its purpose without her striving to understand how. These stories mirror an eternal truth. The most powerful faith is often the quietest. When you trust without needing to announce it, when you believe without requiring proof, you align with the subtle forces that shape reality. Your faith becomes like Bernard's garden or Elaine's candle, a magnetic force drawing miracles through simple, steadfast trust. Sacred practice. As darkness falls each evening, light a single candle. Let its flame represent your unwavering faith in what is yet unseen. In the gentle glow, whisper these words: I trust without proof. I believe in what is unseen. Allow the candle to burn as a silent testimony to your trust in the universe's perfect unfolding. This ritual, performed in solitude, becomes your quiet declaration of faith in the invisible threads that weave miracles into being. Like Elaine's steadfast devotion, your nightly practice need not be elaborate or proclaimed to the world. The power lies in its simplicity and consistency. As you watch the flame dance in the darkness, know that your faith, like that small light, has the power to guide not only your path but also to illuminate the way for others who may be lost. In this sacred moment between day and night, you align yourself with the ancient rhythm of trust that has moved mountains and parted seas throughout the ages. Chapter 16: The Parable of the Unopened Gift. In a small village where children eagerly awaited their birthdays like sacred ceremonies, Young Leonard sat before a wrapped gift, his hands trembling. The box, adorned with ribbons that caught the morning light, remained untouched as hours passed. You may recognize yourself in Leonard's hesitation. How often have you held back from life's offerings, fearing they might not match your dreams? The art of receiving begins with trust. Leonard's mother watched as her son circled the present, his imagination building walls of doubt with each passing moment. "What if it's not the telescope I wished for?" he whispered, unaware that his fear was creating the very distance he dreaded. You too stand before wrapped gifts of the universe daily. Each opportunity, each synchronicity, each moment of potential blessing awaits your willingness to receive. Yet how often do you turn away, convinced that disappointment lurks beneath the surface? When Leonard finally gathered his courage and untied the ribbon, tears filled his eyes. Inside lay not the telescope he had fixated upon, but a handcrafted wooden box filled with star charts and celestial stories, tools that would guide his growing love of astronomy far more deeply than any single instrument. This truth flows into the tale of Florence, who arrived at her classroom one morning with an unannounced test. Her students froze, unprepared by conventional standards, yet as they began to write, something extraordinary unfolded. The questions before them weren't about memorized facts, but about their authentic understanding. Those who had been quietly absorbing the lessons, who had let knowledge settle into their hearts rather than just their minds, discovered they were more ready than they knew. Your readiness to receive does not depend on perfect preparation, but on perfect trust. When you release the grip of expectation, when you allow yourself to be surprised by grace, you open to gifts far greater than your limited imagination could conceive. The universe's offerings arrive not when you demand them, but when you are prepared to receive them. Like Leonard's birthday gift and Florence's test, the timing and form may differ from your expectations, but they will always align with your highest good. Sacred practice. Find an empty box and wrap it carefully. Sit with it before you in quietness. As you slowly unwrap each layer, speak these words with conviction. I am ready to receive what I once feared. Let your hands move with deliberate grace, allowing each moment of unveiling to represent your soul's opening to divine gifts. When you reach the empty space within, rest your hands there and feel the limitless potential of trust. Chapter 17, Letting Go of the How. In a dimly lit workshop at the edge of town, Victor hunched over his workbench, surrounded by scattered papers covered in meticulous calculations. You know this energy well, the tightness in your shoulders when you believe everything depends on your careful planning. Night after night, Victor refined his blueprints, convinced that if he could just map out every detail, his revolutionary invention would manifest. His drawings grew more complex, his measurements more precise, yet inspiration remained elusive. The more he tried to control the creative process, the further his dreams seemed to drift. The universe whispers this wisdom. The path to manifestation cannot be forced through human will alone. When you release your grip on the how, you open yourself to divine intelligence that sees beyond your limited perspective. One evening, exhausted from his endless planning, Victor fell asleep at his desk. Upon waking, he discovered his blueprints had blown out the window into a spring rain. In that moment of forced surrender, something shifted. As he sat in his empty workshop, free from the weight of his own expectations, the solution appeared with stunning clarity. You may notice a pattern in your own life, how often the answers arrive precisely when you stop demanding them. The divine orchestrates with an intelligence far beyond your careful calculations. This truth echoes in Clara's story. For months she meticulously planned her dream journey, only to face endless obstacles. The moment she released her rigid timeline and specific route, an unexpected invitation arrived, offering a path more magnificent than she could have designed. Your task is not to solve the puzzle of manifestation. Your role is to hold the vision of what you desire and why it calls to your soul. The how belongs to the infinite wisdom of the universe. Practice. Take your journal and write down everything you deeply desire, all your dreams, aspirations, and heartfelt longings. Let them flow freely onto the page without judgment or limitation. Next to each desire, notice how you've been trying to control its arrival. Observe the intricate plans you've crafted, the timelines you've set, and the specific pathways you believe must unfold. Now, with gentle determination, cross out every how. Let your pen mark through each carefully constructed strategy, each detailed roadmap you've drawn. In their place, rewrite only what you wish to manifest and why it matters to your heart. Focus purely on the essence of your desires and their sacred meaning in your life's journey. Close your eyes, place your hand over your written words, and speak with quiet certainty. The divine handles the how. Feel the profound truth of this declaration resonating through your being. In this moment of surrender, know that the infinite intelligence of the universe is already orchestrating the perfect unfolding of your desires in ways far more magnificent than your mind could devise. Chapter 18, The Wisdom of Non-Attachment. In the quiet halls of a hospital, where life and death dance their eternal waltz, Harriet moved with graceful purpose. Each morning, she tended to her patients with unwavering care, yet held their outcomes with open hands. You see, she had discovered a truth that transforms all relationships, the art of loving without clinging. Through years of service, Harriet learned that attachment to specific outcomes often clouded her ability to be fully present. When she released her desperate need for every patient to recover exactly as she hoped, she found herself able to offer a deeper, more sacred form of care. Her presence became a sanctuary of peace rather than a vessel of anxiety. This wisdom speaks to the heart of spiritual maturity. True love flows most purely when it asks for nothing in return. When you release your grip on how others must be, you create space for them to unfold naturally in the light of your unconditional care. Consider Alfred, whose son chose a path different from the one he had envisioned. Though his heart ached with concern, Alfred recognized that his role was not to control, but to trust. In releasing his son to walk his own journey, their bond grew stronger. His quiet acceptance spoke louder than any words of guidance could have. You might notice where in your own life care has become controlled, perhaps with children, partners, friends, or dreams close to your heart. The invitation is to practice presence without possession, to love while letting go. This is not a call to emotional withdrawal or indifference. Rather, it is an awakening to love's truest nature. When you release the need to manipulate outcomes, your presence becomes both stronger and softer. You become a channel for divine love rather than a source of human anxiety. Sacred practice. Take a moment now to sit in stillness, allowing your breath to settle into a natural rhythm. Write down the name of someone or something you deeply care about, perhaps a child, a partner, a dream that burns bright in your heart. Feel the fullness of your love flowing through you, embracing them in its warmth. Then, with eyes closed and heart open, gently whisper these sacred words. I love without fear. I release with faith. Let this simple yet profound practice be your meditation in moments when attachment threatens to overshadow love's pure light. Return to it whenever you feel the grip of control tightening, remembering that true love sets free what it cherishes most. Chapter 19, The Phantom of Lack and the Voice of Truth. In the heart of a bustling marketplace stood Beverly's small shop, a testament to the eternal dance between abundance and perceived lack. One morning, as sunlight streamed through her window, she faced an empty shelf where her most popular items once resided. Fear gripped her heart as she imagined customers turning away, her business failing, her dreams crumbling. You too have stood before empty shelves in your life, moments when absence seems to mock your desires. Yet within these moments lies a sacred teaching about the nature of abundance. As Beverly stood paralyzed before the barren display, a gentle reminder stirred within her. The back room. She had forgotten about the fresh stock waiting in storage. In that moment of remembrance, the illusion of scarcity shattered. What appeared as lack was merely a veil over abundance already present. This truth echoes through the ages. What seems absent often simply awaits your recognition. The universe operates not from scarcity, but from infinite supply. Your task is not to create abundance, but to align with its ever-present flow. Dennis, a writer, faced this same wisdom when his manuscript seemed lost. For days, he mourned what he believed was gone forever. His words, his story, his offering to the world. Yet in the depths of his despair, while cleaning his office, he discovered the manuscript tucked away in an old folder. What he thought was lost had never left. These stories mirror your own journey. How often have you stood before perceived emptiness, forgetting the fullness that awaits your recognition? The shelves of your life may appear bare, but abundance exists in dimensions beyond your immediate sight. This ancient truth invites you to shift your perception. When faced with apparent lack, pause and remember, the universe holds infinite resources, countless possibilities, and unlimited channels of supply. Your role is to remain open to unexpected sources of fulfillment. Practice. Find a quiet space where you can sit undisturbed, away from the distractions of daily life. Close your eyes and journey back through your life's tapestry, allowing each thread of memory to shine with renewed clarity. Remember each time support arrived unexpectedly, the friend who called at just the right moment, the opportunity that emerged when all seemed lost, the perfect solution that appeared without effort. Recall every instance when what you needed appeared, often from unforeseen directions, proving that the universe operates through infinite channels of abundance. Let these memories wash over you as evidence of the universe's constant care, feeling the truth of this divine support in every cell of your being. Notice how even in moments of apparent scarcity, provision always found its way to you through unexpected avenues. Complete this meditation by speaking aloud with conviction and trust. What I need is always here, even when unseen. The universe's abundance flows to me through countless channels, seen and unseen, known and unknown. Chapter 20. You already have it. In a sunlit workshop at the edge of town, Phyllis sat before her sewing machine, guided by an inner knowing that transcended ordinary business practice. While other dressmakers waited for orders, she followed the whispers of inspiration, creating garments that seemed to emerge from the fabric of possibility itself. Each stitch was a declaration of faith, each completed dress an affirmation of trust in the unseen. You possess this same creative power, the ability to shape reality from the realm of pure potential. Just as Phyllis sewed dresses for customers who had not yet appeared, you too can live from the end, embodying the truth of what you desire before its physical manifestation. The universe responds not to what you want, but to who you are being. When Phyllis completed each garment, she placed it with certainty on a hanger, knowing its destined wearer would arrive. Without fail, within days or weeks, a customer would enter her shop, their measurements and preferences matching exactly what she had already created. This is the law of assumption in its purest form, the understanding that external reality must conform to your internal state of being. What you assume is true in your consciousness must materialize in your experience. Consider Willard, who felt called to teach though he held no position. He began carrying himself with the dignity of an educator, speaking with the wisdom of one who guides others, preparing lesson plans in the quiet of his study. He did not wait for permission to embody his calling. Soon, a school seeking exactly his qualities appeared, recognizing in him what he had already recognized in himself. Your desires are not distant dreams to chase, but current realities to embody. The secret lies not in becoming, but in being. The universe does not respond to your wishes or hopes, but to your established state of consciousness. Sacred practice. Stand before a mirror in the soft light of morning or evening, when the world is still and your mind is clear. Let your gaze rest gently on your reflection, not with judgment, but with deep acceptance. See in your eyes the truth of who you already are, the wisdom, the power, the divine spark that has always resided within. Draw your shoulders back, feel your spine lengthen, and allow your presence to fill the space around you like golden light expanding. With quiet authority that comes from absolute knowing, speak these sacred words. I am already who I am becoming. Feel the power of this declaration resonate through your being, touching every cell with its profound truth. This is not an affirmation of future possibility, but a recognition of present truth, an acknowledgement of the eternal self that has always existed in its complete form. Let this moment of self-recognition anchor itself in your consciousness, becoming the foundation from which you move through the world. Part 3, The Mastery of Stillness, Becoming the Magnetic Vessel. Chapter 21, The Energy of Certainty. In the gentle autumn light, Lucille knelt in her garden, pressing tulip bulbs into the cool earth. While others saw only bare soil, she perceived the vibrant blooms that would emerge with spring's first whisper. Her hands moved with quiet assurance, each bulb planted not with hope, but with absolute knowing. You are called to cultivate this same unwavering certainty. The universe responds not to wishes or desires, but to the energetic signature of completion that radiates from your being. When you plant the seeds of your desires, do you question their emergence, or do you rest in the calm knowing of their fulfillment? Just as Lucille covered each bulb with soil, seeing in her mind's eye the perfect unfoldment of crimson and gold petals, you must hold your visions with this same unshakable faith. She did not hope for spring. She knew it. This knowledge became a magnetic force, drawing forth the very reality she had already accepted as truth. In a distant town, Everett carried this same power of certainty. Having returned from war with nothing but the clothes on his back, he walked the streets as if he already possessed a home there. He spoke of my house before he had one, described its features with such conviction that the townspeople began to see it too. Within months, through a series of events that seemed miraculous to others but natural to him, the exact house he had described became his. This is the sacred alchemy of certainty, the power to transmute possibility into reality through unwavering knowing. Not through force or struggle, but through the quiet authority of one who understands that what is seen in consciousness must manifest in form. Your desires are not distant possibilities to be hoped for, but present realities awaiting your recognition. Like Lucille's tulips sleeping beneath the frost, or Everett's house existing first in the realm of pure potential, your desires already exist in their completed state. Sacred practice. Stand before your mirror in perfect stillness. Let your gaze meet your own reflection with the calm assurance of one who knows, not with the desperate energy of wanting, but with the quiet power of completion. Look deeply into your own eyes and speak these words with the authority of absolute certainty. It is done. Feel how these words resonate not as a future promise, but as a present truth. For in the realm of spirit, where all manifestation begins, it is already so. Chapter 22. The Joy of Detachment. In the quiet morning light, Edna stood before an empty canvas. Her fingers trembled not with fear, but with a forgotten lightness. After her beloved's passing, she had stored away her brushes, believing joy had departed with him. Yet here she stood, paintbrush in hand, with no goal but to dance with color once more. You, like Edna, may have forgotten that surrender carries its own sweetness. Watch how she dips her brush into crimson paint, not to create a masterpiece or prove her worth, but simply to witness the way light catches the color. This is the sacred frequency of joy, when you release the need for your actions to mean anything beyond their own existence. Through the gentle strokes of her brush, Edna discovers that detachment is not an emptying, but an opening. Each splash of color flows more freely precisely because she has released the weight of purpose. The universe responds not to your striving, but to your joy. Consider now the tale of Lyle, who sat in his office after losing a promotion he had desperately pursued. In that moment of complete release, unexpected laughter bubbled up from his depths. The very act of laughing freed him from the grip of attachment. Within days, a superior position appeared at another company, drawn not by his grasping, but by his lightness. You see, the universe mirrors your frequency. When you release the heavy energy of needing, forcing, and proving, you align with life's natural dance. Joy is not the reward for manifestation. It is the magnet that draws it forth. This truth lies at the heart of spiritual surrender. Detachment is not a solemn resignation, but a celebration of life's unfolding. Like Edna with her paints, and Lyle with his laughter, you are invited to release the burden of outcomes and rediscover the lightness of being. Sacred practice, the joy signal. Choose one activity each day that serves no purpose but to bring you joy. It might be dancing in your kitchen, humming a forgotten tune, watching clouds drift across the sky, or simply sitting in silence with a warm cup of tea. Make this moment sacred by releasing all expectations and duties. As you engage in this moment of pure pleasure, quietly affirm, "I trust joy to guide my way." Feel how this simple truth resonates through your entire being, awakening the dormant wisdom within. Let this practice remind you that surrender is not heavy. It is the lightest touch of grace, a gentle whisper from the universe inviting you to remember your natural state of bliss. Chapter 23. Desire without obsession. In the depths of a concert hall, Marvin draws his bow across ancient strings, each note rising pure and unadorned. You might notice how his eyes remain closed, how his body sways with the music, not for any audience, but for the sacred dance between musician and melody. Here lies a truth you have been seeking. Desire can exist without desperation. When you first discover a dream within your heart, you often grasp it tightly, believing that intensity of wanting equals power of attraction. Yet observe how Marvin's fingers move with both precision and surrender. He holds the vision of perfect sound while releasing all attachment to recognition. This is the art of sacred desire, to want without needing, to create without clinging. The universe responds not to the volume of your wanting, but to the clarity of your knowing combined with the grace of your allowing. Through Marvin's example, you begin to understand that passion need not wear the heavy cloak of attachment. His music soars precisely because he has released the burden of validation. Now turn your attention to Bernice, whose story illuminates another facet of this wisdom. Having planned her journey to the ancient temples with meticulous care, she then did something remarkable. She let it go. Not with resignation, but with trust. Months later, an envelope arrived containing a contest prize, the exact journey she had once planned. Her tale reveals how the universe often fulfills our desires through unexpected channels when we loosen our grip on the outcome. You see, manifestation flows most freely when you master this delicate balance, to hold your vision clearly while remaining unattached to its timing or method of arrival. Like Bernice, you can plant the seed of intention, then step back and allow the divine gardener to determine its season of bloom. Sacred practice. Take a quiet moment with paper and pen, finding a sacred space where you can commune with your deepest truth. Write down each desire that lives in your heart, every whispered hope, every bold ambition, letting the truth of your wanting flow freely onto the page without judgment or limitation. Then, beside each desire, inscribe these words of power. I release the when and how, only the knowing remains. Feel how this declaration both honors your dreams and frees them to manifest in their perfect divine timing. As you complete this ritual, notice the subtle shift within, a lightening of spirit, a deepening of trust. This conscious act of surrender opens channels through which the universe can work its mysterious alchemy, transforming your heart's longings into manifest reality. Chapter 24. The Mystery of Divine Timing. In a small town among rolling hills, Opal's fingers trace the ivory keys of pianos day after day. Each note she tunes carries the weight of waiting. For her daughter, sent away 15 years ago to live with distant relatives, you might recognize this yearning in your own heart, this constant reaching toward tomorrow. Watch how Opal moves through her days, adjusting strings with practiced precision while time stretches endlessly before her. At first, she marks each passing month, each holiday, each birthday with heavy significance. Her calendar becomes a maze of circled dates and crossed-out possibilities. Yet something shifts when she finally sets down the weight of when. The truth reveals itself through her surrender. Timing belongs to the divine. As Opal releases her grip on reunion, she discovers a peace that transforms her waiting into living. No longer does she peer hopefully at every young woman who enters her shop. Instead, she pours herself into the music, into the present moment, into the art of letting life unfold. Then comes Walter's tale, carrying its own whispered wisdom. In his grandmother's attic, he discovers an old chest marked simply "Later." Inside lies the exact timepiece he had searched for across continents. The watch he could never find while hunting rests perfectly preserved, waiting for the precise moment of discovery. Through these stories, you begin to understand. Timing is not a punishment, but a protection. Every desire carries its own sacred schedule, its own perfect moment of manifestation. Your task is not to force the hands of time, but to trust the wisdom that orchestrates all things. The universe operates with an intelligence far beyond your limited view. What appears as delay often serves as preparation, protection, or the careful alignment of countless unseen elements. When you release your grip on when, you free yourself to receive what is already in motion. Practice. Take your journal and write at its top, "What has not arrived yet, and how would I live if I trusted it is coming at the perfect time?" Let your hand move across the page without censoring your heart's response. Feel how the very act of asking this question begins to loosen the bonds of urgency that have held you captive. Allow your deepest yearnings to flow onto the paper, dreams of love, abundance, purpose, or healing. Notice how different your body feels when you imagine these desires manifesting not through force, but through divine timing. What tensions release when you surrender the when and trust in the wisdom of the universe's grand design? Write until you feel a subtle shift within, a gentle release of the need to control time itself. Chapter 25. Letting Go to Let In. In the shadows of an old Victorian house, Mildred stands surrounded by towers of newspapers, boxes, and memories. You may recognize yourself in her hesitation, the way she clutches each item as if it holds tomorrow's promise, yet the universe whispers ancient wisdom through the dust. To receive, you must first create space. Watch as Mildred's trembling hands begin to sort through decades of accumulation. Each object represents a story she believes she cannot live without. But as she releases the first stack of yellowed magazines, something shifts in the air. The light streams through a window long hidden behind boxes, illuminating treasures she had forgotten existed. Her grandmother's cherished locket, letters from her father's war days, photographs that tell tales of love and courage. This moment teaches what the sages have always known: abundance flows not into cluttered vessels, but into sacred space. Your life, like Mildred's attic, may be filled with what once served, but now only shadows the path to your next blessing. Each item released becomes an invitation for something greater to enter. In another town, Clarence faces his own lesson in letting go. His hometown holds every memory, every comfort he has known. Yet something calls him to leave. Not because he must, but because his spirit knows that new beginnings require endings. As he drives past the town limits, his rearview mirror frames the life he releases. Within months, love finds him in an unexpected city, proving that what we surrender creates the opening for what seeks us. Your own life holds areas where release beckons. Perhaps it's old beliefs that no longer serve, relationships that have completed their season, or habits that block your receiving. Like Mildred's attic and Clarence's departure, these spaces of letting go become holy ground where new blessings take root. The universe operates in this sacred exchange. Empty your hands to receive what's meant for you. Each release becomes not an act of loss, but a declaration of readiness. What appears as an ending reveals itself as beginning. What seems like loss becomes the very soil from which your next chapter grows. Sacred practice. Find a quiet moment today. Choose one thing, physical or emotional, that you're ready to release. Hold it in your hands or your heart. Then, with gentle intention, let it go while speaking these words. I clear space for the greater good. Feel the lightness that follows, knowing that nature abhors a vacuum, and what you've released creates space for what awaits. Chapter 26. The Sage Who Asked Once. In the highest reaches of a mountain village lived Abel, whose presence carried the weight of ancient wisdom. Through his story, you will discover one of the most sacred truths about manifestation, a truth so simple yet so powerful that it has remained hidden in plain sight for generations. One dawn, as the first rays of sunlight touched the mountain peaks, Abel knelt in his garden. In that pristine moment, he spoke his heart's deepest longing to the universe. Then, with the serenity of one who understands the deepest laws of creation, he rose and never uttered that desire again. The villagers watched him continue his daily routines, tending his garden, helping travelers, sharing his bread. They waited for him to pray again, to repeat his wish, to show signs of yearning. But Abel moved through his days with the quiet certainty of one who knows a letter has already been received. This is the mastery you are now ready to embrace. True surrender requires only one moment of pure alignment. When you plant a seed, you do not dig it up each day to check if it has grown. When you release an arrow, you do not chase after it to ensure it reaches its target. In the valley below Abel's home lived Josephine, whose story mirrors this sacred truth. Each evening, as darkness fell, she would light a single candle in her window. She never spoke a word over the flame, never whispered her wishes to the night. The simple act of lighting that candle held all the power of her intention, pure, unwavering, complete. What these tales reveal is the essence of masterful manifestation. It is not in the repetition of desires that power lies, but in the depth of your initial surrender. When you truly release your desire to the universe, no further action is needed. Your trust becomes absolute, your faith unshakable. Look at how Abel and Josephine embody this wisdom. They understand that the universe heard them the first time. Their continued silence is not empty. It is filled with knowing. This is the highest form of spiritual confidence, to state your intention once and then live as though it is already done. Sacred practice. In the stillness of night, write your deepest desire on a piece of paper. Choose your words with care and consciousness, for this will be your only declaration. Fold the paper with reverence and find a sacred place to keep it, perhaps in a special box or between the chapters of a cherished book. As you place it there, speak only once. So it is. Then, like Abel and Josephine, let your silence become your power. Chapter 27. Becoming the Vibration. In a dimly lit jazz club, Harold sat at his piano, fingers dancing across the keys. Night after night, he would play to empty chairs, yet something had shifted within him. He no longer watched the door, hoping for an audience to validate his music. Instead, he had discovered a truth that would transform not just his art, but his entire life. When you release the need for external validation, you align with a power far greater than mere approval. Harold's story teaches a fundamental principle of manifestation. Your energy precedes your reality. As he surrendered to the pure joy of creation, letting the music flow through him without attachment to outcome, something magical began to unfold. The universe responds not to what you want, but to what you are. When Harold stopped performing and started embodying, his music began attracting exactly the right listeners. Record producers discovered him. Fellow musicians sought him out. Yet these outcomes were merely reflections of an inner shift that had already occurred. Consider Frances, who lived in a modest apartment but began carrying herself with the grace and confidence of someone who already possessed her dream life. She arranged her space as though it were her ideal home. She spoke with the assurance of someone already living her vision. Without changing her external circumstances, she changed her energy and watched as her reality began to mirror her inner state. Your outer world will always align with your inner frequency. This is not about pretending or forcing. It is about becoming. When you embody the energy of what you desire, you enter a state of magnetic resonance. You no longer chase what you want. You attract it naturally by being its energetic match. The key lies in shifting from wanting to being. Instead of yearning for success, embody it. Rather than seeking love, become it. Your energy speaks louder than your words, and the universe responds to who you are, not what you wish for. Sacred practice. Each morning, stand before your mirror and ask yourself, how would I walk if I were already living my deepest desire? How would I speak? How would I carry myself? Then move through your day embodying these qualities. Let your posture, your voice, your gestures reflect not who you were, but who you are becoming. This is not an act. It is an awakening to your true nature. As you align your energy with your vision, you will find that what you once pursued begins pursuing you. This is the ancient law of attraction in its purest form, not a technique of manifestation, but a truth of being. Chapter 28. Living in the Flow. In a small fishing village where time seemed to move with the tides, Chester would rise before dawn each morning. Unlike the other fishermen who meticulously planned their routes and consulted weather charts, he simply stood at the shore, closed his eyes, and listened. Without maps or schedules, he allowed himself to be guided by an inner knowing that transcended logic. You see, Chester had discovered a profound truth. The universe operates through perfect timing when we release our grip on how things should unfold. Each day, his boat would drift to exactly where it needed to be. If a family in the village needed fish for a celebration, Chester's nets would mysteriously fill with their favorite catch. If the market required a specific variety, his intuition would lead him to the right spot. When you surrender to the natural flow of life, you tap into a wisdom far greater than any plan could provide. The universe knows the shortest path between where you are and where you need to be. Your only task is to trust and follow the subtle promptings of your heart. Witness Genevieve, who once structured every hour of her day with rigid precision. Her carefully crafted to-do lists governed her life until one morning, when she chose to leave her schedule behind. That day, as she moved solely by inspiration, she discovered that life had its own perfect orchestration. A delayed bus led to an unexpected encounter that solved a pressing problem. A wrong turn brought her to exactly the person she needed to meet. You too hold this capacity to live in divine flow. When you release the illusion of control, you align with the universe's natural rhythm. Each moment becomes a sacred dance between your intention and divine timing. Your role is not to force or direct, but to stay present and responsive to the whispers of intuition. Practice for embracing flow. Choose one day to live without rigid plans or expectations. As you begin your morning, simply sit in silence and attune to your inner guidance, letting your breath become slow and steady. Throughout the day, pause regularly and quietly ask, "Show me where to go next." Notice the subtle signs and synchronicities that appear. A chance conversation, an unexpected invitation, a sudden insight. Watch how life arranges itself when you surrender to its natural rhythm, flowing like water around obstacles rather than forcing your way through them. Trust that each moment is leading you exactly where you need to be, even when the path seems unclear. This is not aimlessness or laziness. It is perfect alignment with divine intelligence, a sacred dance with the universe itself. By releasing your grip on control, you open yourself to wisdom far greater than any human planning could devise. Chapter 29. You are the portal. In a quiet corner of a bustling hospital, Della sat each morning in peaceful contemplation. After 40 years of nursing, she had discovered something extraordinary, a truth that transformed not only her life, but the lives of all who encountered her. You see, Della had ceased trying to heal through doing. Instead, she had become a living sanctuary, a space where peace naturally flowed. Through her presence alone, anxious patients found calm, worried families discovered solace, and harried staff members remembered to breathe. She never offered advice or sought to fix situations. She simply existed as an open channel through which the universe could work its gentle magic. This revelation awaits you as well. You are not separate from the divine force that orchestrates all of creation. You are its very expression. When you release the need to make things happen, you become the space through which miracles naturally unfold. Consider Frederick, who lived in a small apartment above a noisy street. Each dawn, he would sit in meditation, making no effort to change his world. Yet as he aligned with the silence within, remarkable changes began occurring around him. Neighbors who had quarreled for years suddenly made peace. Plants on his windowsill flourished without tending. Opportunities appeared without seeking. What Frederick had discovered, and what you are now ready to embrace, is that you are not the doer, you are the doorway. The universe does not need your effort, it needs your allowance. Your role is not to make the miracle, but to be the miracle. This truth liberates you from the endless doing, trying, and forcing that has characterized your spiritual journey until now. You are not meant to chase enlightenment. You are enlightenment expressing itself. You are not meant to seek abundance. You are abundance in form. Sacred practice. Find a quiet moment, a sacred space where the world's clamor fades into whispers. Place your hand upon your heart, letting your fingers rest gently against your chest. Feel the steady rhythm beneath your palm. This is the universe breathing through you, the same force that moves the tides and spins the stars. Close your eyes and speak these words with the authority of your soul. I am not the seeker, I am the source. Let this truth settle into every cell of your being, like morning dew seeping into fertile soil. You are not reaching for something outside yourself. You are remembering what you have always been. Feel how this knowing resonates through your entire body, awakening ancient wisdom that has slumbered within you since the beginning of time. Chapter 30. The Return of the Unclenched Hand. In the gentle twilight of his years, Theodore discovered a truth that had eluded him in youth. You see it in the way he sits on his porch, hands resting softly on his lap, palms turned upward to the sky. His fingers no longer clutch at life, they welcome it. Through decades of striving, Theodore once believed that happiness must be seized, that love must be captured, that success must be wrestled into submission. Now he understands the ancient wisdom that what you chase will always outrun you, while what you release returns of its own accord. Watch how the neighborhood children bring him fresh-picked flowers, how friends appear at just the right moment, how opportunities arise without effort. Theodore has mastered the art of the unclenched hand, that sacred gesture that speaks to the universe of trust absolute and complete. This is the final key to the mysteries you have explored throughout these chapters. The unclenched hand is not merely a symbol, it is the physical embodiment of spiritual mastery. When your grip loosens on life, life itself softens its grip on you. Witness Beatrice, who once pursued love with such desperate intensity that it seemed to slip through her fingers like water. Her heart was a fist, closed tight around past hurts and future fears. But as she learned to give love freely, expecting nothing in return, something miraculous occurred. Love began flowing back to her in abundant measure. You stand now at the threshold of this same transformation. The journey of detachment is not an ending, it is the beginning of a new way of being. It is the rhythm of the universe itself. Release and receive, let go and welcome, surrender and embrace. Your hands hold the power to shape your reality, not through grasping, but through allowing. When you open your palms to the sky, you declare to the universe your readiness to receive. When you unclench your fingers, you signal your trust in divine timing. When you soften your grip, you activate the law of attraction in its purest form. Sacred practice. Find a quiet moment in space. Stand or sit with your spine straight, dignity in your posture. Slowly, deliberately, open both hands, palms facing upward. Feel the subtle energy moving through your open palms. Then, with quiet authority, speak these words: I am open. I am ready. I let it come. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. In these sacred chapters, you have walked through the doorway of an ancient truth, that what you seek has been seeking you. Through each teaching, each practice, and each moment of surrender, you have shed the heavy cloak of needing and stepped into the light of knowing. The unclenched hand is no longer just a symbol. It has become your way of being. Notice how differently you move through the world now. Where once you grasped, you now allow. Where once you pushed, you now invite. Where once you demanded, you now trust. This transformation is subtle yet profound. You have learned that manifestation is not about doing more, but about being more aligned with the universal flow. Your desires have not diminished. They have matured. They no longer spring from lack, but emerge from wholeness. You understand now that wanting can be gentle, that certainty can be quiet, that power can be soft. The universe responds not to what you chase, but to what you embody. In releasing the desperate energy of seeking, you have become magnetic to all that is meant for you. Your open palms are now conduits for grace, channels through which abundance naturally flows. This is the mastery of spiritual surrender. Not a passive resignation, but an active alignment with divine intelligence. You have discovered that true power lies not in controlling life, but in dancing with it. Your journey has brought you full circle, from searching to finding, from seeking to being, from grasping to receiving. Remember, each time you open your hands, you open to life. Each time you soften your grip, you strengthen your trust. Each time you choose to let go, you create space for miracles to enter. You are no longer the seeker. You are the source. You are no longer the student of these teachings. You are their living expression. In this sacred space of surrender, everything you have ever wanted is already making its way to you. If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.